Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video, we're doing a review of the iPhone 6s. Now, it's measuring in 138.3 by 67.1 by 7.1 millimeters and weighing in at 143 grams. It's a little bit heavier than last year's iPhone 6 model, but you know what? It's still very comfortable to hold in the hand. It has a very attractive design. Considering that most of the body is designed with 7000 series aluminum, basically Apple's fancy way of saying it's a bit tougher to bend compared to last year's model, it's still quite comfortable to hold. Now, going over the sides, we'll start off with the bottom, and on the right side we have that single speaker, dual microphone ports, a lightning connector port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and moving over to the left side we have the volume rocker buttons, and of course at the top we have that switch to turn ringer on and off for silent mode. On the top we have nothing, and going over to the right side, near the top we have the power button, just below that we have the SIM card tray. Now switching over to the back, again, as I mentioned, this is a very comfortable phone to hold. You have the iPhone logo and Apple logo. At the back we have that 12 megapixel camera. Now the quality of the camera is a mixed bag of sorts. It's good in one way and bad in another. Let's put it this way, when it comes to picture taking quality and also some pictures shortly, it's fantastic. Video recording quality, we finally have 4K video recording on an iPhone, and it does deliver in terms of quality. It looks fantastic, colors are great, so one of the better cameras in terms of image processing available on a smartphone. However, the big issue here, and this is a huge one, the audio being recorded is actually awful. It's not that great, the volume's too low, and it's not that clear either. But as mentioned, you're getting some pretty nice colors in terms of picture taking. This carries over to like decent lighting scenarios, and even in a low lighting situation, the iPhone 6s is one of the better camera performers on the market right now. For this particular segment, all audio and video is being recorded straight off the iPhone 6s, and this is the 5 megapixel front-facing shooter recording. And the reason this clip is small is because it only records in 720p, which is unfortunate because the standard now for front-facing camera is 1080p, and some Samsung devices are even recording at 1440p. Okay, but getting past that, which is not a big deal because it's still a front-facing camera, you don't record much videos with it. The issue here is that despite the rear camera being great, whether you're recording video with the rear or front camera, you're only recording audio through a single channel. That's right, it's awful. Other cell phones record in dual channel stereo playback of audio. This one records in single channel, and even then the audio is pretty bad, so it's quite unfortunate. Now switching over to the camera app, this is a pretty poor experience as you have the generic things like switching between photo taking, panorama, video recording, etc. The unfortunate problem is that you can't adjust quality settings here. You have to go to the main system settings menu to do that, which is pretty annoying. Now one of the new things included, of course, is the front-facing flash, which basically turns your screen into a flash for the front-facing camera. And as you can see right now in this picture, I did it in a very low lighting situation. The performance is, well, pretty poor, as you would expect. There's a lot of noise. This is more of a gimmick and you shouldn't really rely on it too much. And still missing from the iPhone series is the LED notification light. Moving over to the screen, we have a 4.7-inch Retina HD display with a resolution of 1334 by 750, which is pretty much close to 720p with about 326 ppi. Now, in terms of the screen itself, you're getting some great quality in terms of sharpness and clarity and some fantastic colors, although at this price point it would have been nice if they had a 1080p screen. Now some people will argue that you can't see that on such a small screen, but believe me, you can. Although I have to admit that this phone has some of the best viewing angles available on a smartphone. So at this point I'm going to do the volume test. I have the volume on max on the iPhone. So we're going to switch over to the camera microphone with the volume on max, playing a YouTube video from my channel. And let's see what kind of results we can get from that single speaker on the side. Now the front and back have nothing, so we'll just skip on over to the left. You have the MagSafe 2 connector, as I mentioned earlier. So while it does perform okay for a single speaker, if you max out the volume it gets really muffled, which is an okay experience. The weird thing is that due to the positioning, you can actually easily cover it up when playing a video or video game. Let's take a listen. Available. You notice that there's no Ethernet jacks. This is purely a Wi-Fi device which supports 802.11ac and Bluetooth 4.0. Now going over the display, as I mentioned at the beginning, this can be a little bit of an annoyance depending on how you hold the phone. Now pushing and powering this device is an A9 processor with 2 gigs of RAM. Now there's been a lot of arguments about how much RAM this device has, but quite honestly it doesn't matter. Let's take a look at how many apps I have open right now, and it's not even struggling at all. This is most likely due to the extremely well optimized operating system, which is iOS 9, which quite honestly is one of the smoothest and fastest experiences I've ever had on a smartphone. And this actually carries over to GPU performance as well. Playing some of the top app store games, the graphic games rather, I'm not noticing any stuttering in any of the games I played. Unfortunately, there's a downside to this. When doing my gaming demo video with testing the performance of the processor and the GPU at their max potential, the phone gets very hot. So after about 10-15 minutes of gameplay playing games like this, the phone will get really hot and I actually just kind of stop and leave it alone for a while. I tested this under various scenarios, restarting the device, having different games played from different developers. It's basically come down to this. It's an iPhone issue, not an app issue. The phone will get really hot. As mentioned, iOS 9 is a fast, smooth experience on this device, and there are some new features included like 3D Touch, which is basically force touch taken from the new MacBooks and implemented. So if you press a little bit light, you can get a preview of a certain email or web link only within Apple apps for now, so like Safari browser or the Mail app that comes with the phone. And of course, if you press and hold and put a lot more pressure on it, you'll go directly into that email link or into the web browser link itself. Now right now it's kind of a gimmick, it's pretty pointless, but I can actually see some great use of from third-party app developers. For example, in a racing game, the harder you press, the faster your car will accelerate, like in a real-life gas pedal. So there is some really good potential out there, but right now it's just like a whatever gimmick. There are some bugs though. For example, auto lock will lock after 1 minute no matter what. If I set it to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, the screen will always turn off and auto lock after a minute, unless you set it to never. It is a well-known bug as I've researched it and other people are having this issue on the internet. Moving along though, the fingerprint scanner is by far the best one I've ever used on any smartphone. Basically touching the fingerprint like for half a second will almost immediately unlock the screen and straight to your apps listing. It's amazing. Unfortunately, the control center, well, you still can't really customize anything, which is unfortunate. For example, you can't add mobile data quick toggle. And this is really annoying for people that have really limited mobile data plans. For people that say, for example, only have 100 megs of data per month, and they really have to be careful about their usage. One of the last things Apple's really pushing on iOS 9 on the iPhone 6s is live photos. So if you enable it while taking a photo, as I have with this flower picture, for example, it'll record a video just over a second before and just over a second after. So if you force touch on the photo while in the gallery, you'll notice that a video plays about 3 seconds long. This is, well, kind of a gimmick. Other manufacturers have done this years ago and it has become a forgotten feature because it's pretty pointless, because you're actually better off just recording a 3-second video from actual video recording function instead. A lot of people have been curious as to Apple's choice of storage options for the iPhone 6s, but it all comes down to marketing. See, it comes in a base model of 16 gigabytes of internal storage and then jumps straight to 64. It skips 32 gigs of internal storage option. Then of course you have 120 gigs as well. Now there's no micro SD card slot, so whatever you buy is what you're stuck with. So why skip 32? Why do they have 16 and then jump to 64? This is basically Apple's way of giving an FU that you're gonna buy a product anyway, so deal with it. You see, they're gonna charge a tremendous amount of money, almost like $800 to $900 for the 16 gig model. And well, a lot of people are not going to be happy with that. It's not enough storage. So instead of offering a slightly more expensive choice of 32 gigs, they're going to make it way more expensive and force you to buy the 64 gig model. So this all comes down to marketing and head games, but either way you're pretty much stuck. Enclosed in the unibody, which cannot be opened, is a 1715 mAh battery, which is really small for today's standards, but you're still getting an impressive just over a day of performance, which is quite good for such a small battery. Again, this is probably due to the optimization of iOS 9. So this includes usage of YouTube, checking my email, web browser, and whatnot. The unfortunate part is that it takes almost 3 hours to fully charge this battery, which is a very long time. There's also a power saving mode, which reduces the performance of the phone, but greatly improves the performance of the battery. In terms of connectivity, we have GPS, Wi-Fi, which supports 802.11a, B, G, N, and AC, LTE, Bluetooth 4.2, and AirPlay. Lacking those more universally accepted connectivity options like Miracast and NFC, which is pretty much used by every other device out there except for Apple products. In terms of call quality, it performs pretty decent. It's not great, it's not bad, it's just okay. So a lot of people are going to be upset about the score that it gave the iPhone 6s, and that basically comes down to a lot of Apple hardcore fans. Now, a lot of people will actually be confused as to why it gave such a harsh score. Well, let's put it this way. If you look around the internet, everyone's giving it an 8.5 out of 10 or minimum and above. So why is it that the top tech news websites or the top YouTube channels are raving about it? Well, everyone gets the iPhone pretty much within the same 2 days. And they, well, review it within a day or two just because they want to be first on the internet without any testing. I tested this thing thoroughly and tough, and yeah, there are problems with it. Playing the top App Store graphic games will make this thing overheat like crazy. The two other huge issues, like there are a few other smaller ones, but the two big ones is of course the storage options. Apple just skipped 32 gigs on purpose because they want people to spend crazy amount of money, and everyone's raving that after years of being behind, the iPhone can finally record in 4K. Yes, it's nice, the picture quality is great, but everyone tends to overlook the fact that the audio being recorded in a video recording is awful. It's actually pretty bad. No one's mentioned this. But it does have its strong suits though. This is one of the fastest and most stable operating systems you can get on a phone. The fingerprint scanner is near instant. It's almost like I just press it with my thumb and the screen unlocks and it wakes up to the apps right away. Now a lot of people will think I'm biased against the iPhone, but that's not true because the Nexus 6 that I reviewed last year still got a pretty similar score. Whereas the MacBook Air, which I just reviewed a couple of weeks ago, got a pretty high score because it's a pretty good product. The iPhone 6s, well, I used to dub it the iPhone success. That's not so much true, it's just all hype. Well, that's my video. You're most likely gonna give it a thumbs down, even though I'm probably the only person that actually did research on it, but whatever. If you want, you can check out more camera sample videos, gaming demo video, a whole bunch of other videos regarding the iPhone in the video description. Those links are there. You can find my Twitter, Instagram links, all those other stuff, and also in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help, subscribe, and thanks for watching.